Welcome to Vermont Today. I'm Terence Jeroloman, and my guests this month are Doug Hoffer, Don Horenstein, and Bob Woodworth. Doug Hoffer is a lawyer and a tax specialist. Doug, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you go to law school and grow up?
I grew up in Connecticut, outside New York. I went to Williams College at age 30. Following that to SUNY Buffalo for law school, and although I'm a graduate, I don't practice. I do policy work.
And where do you work now?
I'm self-employed.
Self-employed, but you work for the state of Vermont, right?
No.
No?
No. I have a variety of for-profit and not-for-profit clients.
Okay. And Don, you're a financial expert, right?
Well, I'm a retired security analyst. I'm a graduate of the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, where I majored in corporate finance and political science. I was able to go there because of the GI Bill of Rights. In World War II, I enlisted in the Army when I graduated high school. I spent a year in the 38th Parallel in Korea. And because of this education, I was able to land some good positions. I worked for Lehman Brothers for a period, worked for a mutual fund, and worked for Ladenburg Thalmann, an investment banking firm. Started up my own firm in investor relations, where I wrote corporate annual reports and represented their management to the investment community, which included banks, commercial banks, investment banks, insurance companies, pension funds, mutual funds. And I ended up as corporate director of investor relations for Amex, American Metal Climax, which was a Fortune 100 company.
And you're now retired, living
I
at...
am retired, and I'm very fortunate. I live in a wonderful place called Wake Robin, where many wonderful people live. It's not an inexpensive community. There are many very successful retired folks who I guess would generally be defined as wealthy.
And my third guest is Bob Woodworth. And Bob, you are a retired professor of biochemistry?
Right, from the University of Vermont. And I was an undergraduate at the University of Vermont. I did my PhD at Penn State, and then spent 4 years in the U.S. Public Health Service, stationed at the National Institutes of Health, and then returned here to teach for 36 years.
And your father was a professor at Harvard, wasn't he?
Initially at Harvard, and then when James Conant came in and wanted bright young researchers, my dad wanted to teach, so he took a position at Bennington College, took a 50% pay cut, and taught there for 50 years, and was considered one of the 5 top teachers they've ever had.
And now you live at Wake Robin with at the same place as Don.
My wife and I have been there for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very fine community.
Yes, I've heard that many people would like to be there. Don has written a paper about taxation and the public interest in Vermont. And we'll start here. It says, for too long, Vermont's politicians, together with indifferent support of a minority of registered voters, have shamefully, expensively, and irresponsibly hidden behind the skirts of phony tax issues to defend their decisions regarding the extent and content of their responsibilities to provide vital state and local services to its citizens. All Vermonters, residents, businesses, employees, and professionals of all categories have suffered from the neglect and worse of unmet crucial public interests, including education, health care, adequate and affordable housing, mass transit, public safety, infrastructure, and safety net needs for our increasing numbers of Vermonters living in poverty. The first thing that struck me, Don, was you said a minority of registered voters. Jim Douglas got a majority in the last election in March.
Well, when I say a minority of voters, many voters choose not to vote. Many eligible voters choose not to vote. And it's unfortunate, and I think their unwillingness to vote is because so often governments fail to meet their legitimate interests. I put a great deal of emphasis on what I call the public interest, which I define as a component of government spending and government provision of services that include the areas that I mentioned there. Most importantly, in many ways, is public education and adequate affordable housing. And it happens that these are the two most important areas that corporate management looks at before citing a plant. And their specific interest when they look at an area where to site one of their facilities. Quality of the labor force. Because after all, it's that labor force that's going to be their employees. How productive will they be? And productive employees, it seemed to me, are people, are employees who are well motivated, are healthy, and think. And these are outgrowth of the education system. And the reason I include housing there, many thoughtful educators believe that at least 50% of one's development happens at home, outside the classroom. An environment that fosters reading, respect for people, volunteerism in one's community, and all these things, it seemed to me, make for a better and thoughtful student. As you probably know, or might remember, Toyota, a few years ago, cited a major plant in Ontario, and management cited two reasons, principal reasons. One, their national health insurance program, and two, the quality of the high school graduates. It's too bad that Vermont couldn't have been that spot. And so my sense is that government does good things, that the public interest, which is a government effort, does very good things. It elevates the quality of life for all people, and it advances the best interests of corporations. And so there's a wonderful balance, and I think too often demonizers of government have had the day, and demonizers of taxation.
That's the issue. How do we pay for all these things? Taxation. And you go on to say here, demonizers of government and progressive taxation have dishonestly hurt all public interest components at the expense of Vermont's common good. There's stratagems and claims are designed to scare, misinform, and plant distrust and confusion. A throwback to the big lie techniques. Now, I was wondering, what is the big lie?
Well, the big lie is that taxation reduces the ability of companies to make money. In fact, if anyone has a basic understanding of capitalism, and I should tell you up front, I'm very pro-capitalism.
Living at Ray Robin, we would expect you to be.
Well, I'm a proponent of capitalism, of constructive. I call myself a progressive capitalist. And the big lie comes in many devices. For example, the estate tax is now known as the death tax, designed deliberately to frighten people. And it's my understanding that this was initiated principally by the Gallo family of Gallo Wine and the Mars family, who make Milky Ways and so forth. They're billionaires. The fact of the matter is today, for an individual, the first $3.5 million of one's estate is tax exempt. And a couple, you're dealing with $7 million. And so taxation doesn't begin, and is progressive, above $7 million. And it even will rise, I think, in 2010. So these are hardly low-income and middle-income folks. You're talking about a swath of our population who are really very, very wealthy. I'm defined as wealthy, but I feel it's a privilege. I think it's a privilege to live in our country. It's a privilege to do business. The United States has been very good to me from so many points of view.